Today I'm going to show you how to put together I don't know what you call them, a plant tent. It's a freeze protection tent, if you will, cover for plants, and it's going to look something like this. I don't want to get too close because I think this is I think this is inside out. We're gonna try to do it correctly in this video. Incidentally, the way these canopies work is the air will, and any precipitation will be freezing, but the ground usually will hold more heat. The earth itself takes a while to lose all of its heat to become freezing. So the idea is these canopies are spread out. You close it off around the ground, and the heat from the earth will warm the plants. I've seen pictures, and I'll go ahead and post one where that shows canopies that are tied off at the trunk. I think that's a waste of time because plants don't create any heat, not enough to warm themselves, not like warm-blooded creatures like ourselves. So I think that's a waste, and I think it's dangerous because you think you're protecting the plant and you're not. You have to capture a broad area of the earth around the base of these canopies to maintain heat that's coming from the earth under the canopy. Now the problem is, if it gets really cold or many days of freezing, the earth is going to lose its heat in that general area. In those cases, some people will string up incandescent lights, and then they have a remote thermometer and they check the temperature using their iPhone. It seems like a hassle. What we have instead are the Haslet garden mini heaters. It's really nice. All you do is put it underneath the canopy and plug it in, and it'll protect your plant from freezing. And it's very simple. It's got a built-in thermostat that detects whether it's freezing or not, and it's got a low-powered blower that's heated air that'll blow. And the beauty of it is you just plug it in and it's ready to go. It'll automatically turn on when it detects that freezing air, and when it reaches freezing it'll turn on, and then when it reaches about 45 to 50 degrees it'll turn itself off. So it's nice. You can sleep at night knowing that your plant's not going to freeze to death. They're relatively inexpensive, and anyway, I'll post a link on the bottom where you can buy that. So I ordered several of these freeze protection, I'm going to call them tents, for our shorter plants. These apparently are, these particular ones, and you'll see down below exactly what I ordered, are not for plants greater than about 2 or 3 feet tall. I'll have another video for taller plants. But I ordered these from Temu, Temu.com. I hate to order from there. It's obviously subsidized by foreign countries, but the prices are just so cheap you can't leave it alone. But you get what you pay for. There's no really good instructions. There's some that you can download, but they don't even agree with what the product has. But just to let you know, this is what we're talking about. Temu and several other sites, Amazon's getting real bad about not giving you a really good model number on anything. Everything's based on the very long title of the product or pictures. Okay, so once you unwrap the product here, and you could try to save the sleeve to store it in later, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it back in there. It's always a case. The companies tend to pack the product into the container so tightly you can't get it back in. But what you get is this cloth for this particular model with a bunch of ties, and you get these rods. Now, fortunately, I'm familiar with these kind of rods due to baseball nets and golf nets that use something similar. Also, regular tents for people use these, and you'll want to, they come in 2 different wraps, and based on the pictures, I can tell that, and here's the 4 stakes, incidentally, kind of wimpy metal stakes. If you got a really wet or loose earth, I don't know if those would really hold it down in a good windstorm, but we'll go over some things we can do to make things a little better for the tent. These rods are interesting in that individually they don't flex that much, but you put the whole thing together and they flex a lot, and that's how they are actually put together. You put all these rods together and bend it pretty severely and dangerously. I strongly urge you to wear goggles or safety glasses, because you'll end up bending these to stick them in the ground eventually, but you'll bend them so much that if they were to get loose, they could whack you in the eye pretty hard, or so anywhere else. So just be careful. Okay, these segmented rods, there's 2 kinds. There's the standard rod with no sleeve on it, and you have these similar rods, but they have the 2 metal sleeves on the end. Couplings, we'll call them couplings. The way it works is you're going to make one long rod out of these. They break it down like this to save on shipping. So all you do is just connect them. Now, if you're really talented, you could just slide it in and try to put the whole thing together per the instructions. But it gets very frustrating because they tend to slip out if they get any kind of tension on them at all. So what I've learned is put them into the segment. Use Scotch tape. Don't use masking tape. You want Scotch tape because you want it really thin. And another thing you're doing with this tape is creating a nice smooth transition, because what's going to happen is we got these cloth straps we're going to be tying around these things, and those straps need to slide. They need to slide past these sleeves. And if you got a big old gob of masking tape, you're going to make it tough on yourself. And in fact, on this side that's crimped, these sleeves are solid into this piece. They are built in. They got a crimping in there. But I'm still going to take my Scotch tape and put it around, not for stability or for assembly purposes, but solely to give a smooth transition, so that if the cloth strap is sliding this way, it'll ride up over the sleeve real easily. So I'm going to do that at each one. It's a little bit extra effort, but it is well worth it. It will reduce your frustration level tremendously, and it doesn't take that long. Just tear off about 1.5 inches. So do it a little test fit first. Just be sure it goes in all the way. It's going in that far, about halfway. So yeah, do a little test fit. Get about 1.5 inches of tape. Do the loose end first. So I'm splitting the difference right there and just rolling it on. It's okay if it wrinkles a little bit. And again, it doesn't need to hold very long, just one little assembly. And again, because this has a pretty good tight step to it, I'm putting tape around this transition also, solely to make it nice and smooth, so that these straps, during assembly, as the canopy takes the shape of the rods, they'll slide. These loops that we're about to tie on will slide past, and it gets very frustrating when they get hung up. And this will reduce the chance of that happening. So that's how I do it. Okay, the next step is to take one of the rods, and you'll notice you got these little black tabs. Not all the tents, it may not be black on all of them, but it looks like it's just to strengthen that corner, and that's what I thought it was at first. But it's actually a little pocket. It has a pocket where the tip of the rod goes in there, and that's real nice because that keeps the rod in one particular location and lets us push against it, and it'll take the shape, the tent will take the shape of the rods here. before we start pushing on the rod and put it in position, and what we'll do, of course, is bend it and stab it into the pocket on the opposite side. But before we do that, while it's relaxed, we're going to tie these straps. Now I think there's 4 straps for each leg, maybe a total of 8 straps for each rod. The other rod will cross at 90 degrees, so it'll make 4 legs, if you will. Don't tie this as tight as you can. You'll regret it, because again, these need to slide over the couplings on occasion. Now this one here doesn't. I can tie this fairly tight. It's near the end and it's not going to slide around that much. And so try to make a loop if you can, at least like a bow tie with 2 loops, or at least a single loop little knot, and you want to do that in lieu of a square knot, because if you do a square knot, they tend to get tight. This is going to get rained on all winter, freeze and unfreeze, and that knot will be very hard to get undone. If you put a loop in it, all you got to do is like a shoelace. You'll just tug on one end, the loop comes apart, and your knot is free. Now this one might have to slide over this sleeve, so I'm not going to tie it very tight. It's just going to be kind of loose. Make my loop, go around. The rabbit goes down the hole. These straps are just, of course, if they were only 1 inch longer, it'd be so much easier. And it's okay if it's loose, because it doesn't need to be tight. Here's one that's right at the sleeve right now. Now once we bend it, there's no telling which way it might slide. So again, this one needs to be fairly loose. I got the coupling down here. I had to turn it around, and we'll put the last one in. Again, I don't think you can do it wrong, but you should always have a raw rod at each end. And the reason for that is, and I'm about to show you, is they go into these little pockets that are sewed on the inside of the tent. So all right, so we got that done. Now one other little trick is, I do use masking tape for this, and only because you can see it so much easier. Just tear off again about an inch and a half of tape, and find the midpoint. You don't really have to measure it. It's 8 feet, should be about 4 feet down, but you can look at the segments, and there's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So the center of this, and it should balance if you're at the midpoint. The center of this segment is the center of the whole rod, and you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact, but I want to mark the center of that rod, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I already did for this one, because they're going to cross each other, and I want to be sure they're fairly close. And the tent has a tie off at the very top, and I want to be sure all 3 of those things, the 2 pieces of tape and the tie off, are all fairly close together. Give me an idea that we're in the right ballpark. Now the next trick is I'm going to put one of these rods off to the side, and your first job, and keep in mind we're working on the interior side of the tent, and I'm sliding it down. So here's the crown. I can tell because the 2 hems are coming together. I don't know if you can see that. The hem, that's one half of this hemisphere, and the other hem both come together here. So I know this is the top of the tent on the inside. And here's my masking tape, and we're a good 6 inches away. So this one also would be kind of loose. There's no need to get real tight with it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bend this thing and stab that far tip into this pocket. Now be careful, you should wear goggles. Now these are safety glasses, so it's better than nothing. If you don't have glasses, be sure to wear goggles. This is a dangerous part of this assembly here. Just take a good grip. Slide, keep a little tension so it doesn't come out of the pocket. and you want it to slide and be, yeah, you want it lined up with the hem, otherwise there's not enough room. Okay, here we go. And now it's in the pocket. If you notice you're stretching and you're just too far away and there's just too much tension, it's because you're not in the right spot. And you can tell because you'll see the hem, the stitching here, and if it's off to the side, you know you're off. Just pull it over. And incidentally, this particular tin has a little loop at the top. I think it's to hang it up to dry or for storage. And now we're going to turn it 90 degrees. And we're going to, I'm going to turn it this way so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to put this other rod in. Lay this across. And I'm going to stick it into this pocket right here. And I'm going to start tying these off. Again, this very bottom one you can do a tight knot because it's not sliding across a sleeve. What I'm going to do now is bend the rod and sneak the tent over it. Try to keep the rod down the hem, but the main thing you're looking for is this pocket, and we're going to put the rod in that pocket. And wow, that was easy. So now the trick is start tying off the straps that we did not get tied off at the start. These are not tied off on this side, so I'll do that now. Okay, lesson learned here. If you're going to do any strap at all, try to tie off the crown early before you pop in all the rods, because that's hard to reach now. All right, and that is the Temu. I won't call it the 4-foot 10, although I don't think it's really 4 feet. It's more like 3. Okay, I got my tree here, and it's less than a yard high, so I know this will be good. I'm going to use a Haslet garden heater. These are real nice. They're a one-piece unit. It's got a built-in thermostat, and it blows hot air when it reaches freezing. You don't have to monitor the temperature or anything. I just set it next to the plant. And I want the thermostat to be towards the middle, and I want the hot air to blow around the plant. You just plug it in, and then you just plug it in, and if it's a warm day, you won't hear anything going on because it hasn't reached freezing. It turns on automatically when it reaches freezing until the interior reaches about 45 or 50 degrees, and then it turns itself off. So we'll put the tent up there, and you got these little loops at each corner. And don't push straight in. That's not as strong. Go at a really steep 45 degree. Be sure the crook is away, and go all the way down until the tip touches the ground. That way the wind can't bounce and get it off that stake. You want that stake to stay there. Same thing at each corner. Find the loop. Be sure it's naturally, tell you what, do the diagonal opposites first. Okay, Be sure it's kind of naturally where it wants to sit. Don't let the legs get into a bind. Again, 45 degrees all the way down until that loop is trapped. Kind of lift the leg, be sure it's not caught on any grass. And there you go. So again, these are nice little easy pop-up freeze protection tents. I'm pretty happy with this. Temu is fairly inexpensive, and with the Haslet garden heater, I know that this plant will be protected. One thing I'm going to do is I might put additional stakes in the middle. I might use dowel sticks, just sharpen them and poke through the fabric, or something without tearing the tent. I might just put pine straw or hay around the edges. I just don't want a draft to get underneath that pup tent there. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Again, I'll have links to all the various items that are here, the tent, the Haslet garden heater, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.